there are a few games that could take the title of Scariest Call of Duty Zombies. I think World at War definitely has a shout with Nakta and Toten, it being an old game and the first zombies we ever had, the not so great graphics, the dark, gritty atmosphere of the maps, Nakta and Toten, Derice, the aggressiveness of the undead, them being able to windmill and take you out in 2 quick hits, made it a scary experience. And when I look at all of the COD Zombies games that we've had, it tends to be the ones that were set during World War II or the maps that take place in that era, which for me are the scariest. One of the exceptions is Vanguard. There was nothing about that game which was scary. Black Ops 1 would be a shout though, with maps like Kino, 5, Call of the Dead, and Moon. However, I would say World War II was, and still is, the scariest Call of Duty Zombies game ever. But why is that? How is a game that is 8 years old, that isn't even a Treyarch Zombies game from a developer that isn't considered the best when it comes to COD Zombies, has managed to make a mode scarier than all of the rest, which is one thing that we are always asking for every single year. Besides from good Easter eggs, good storyline, good gameplay, Zombies, to me at least anyway, is supposed to be scary. I'm not saying you want every single map to follow that line. It's nice to have a Die Rise now and again. It's nice to have a Liberty Falls now and again. Okay, maybe not. You can see the point I'm making though. You can have a peak COD Zombies game, which is what Black Ops 3 is considered to be, and most maps are not scary. I don't find the Giant scary, especially not compared to its counterpart, Derice. It's brighter, it doesn't feel as gritty, yet it's still an amazing map. Shadows of Evil isn't scary in any way, it's more sci-fi. Draka isn't really, neither is Gorod or Revelations. The only one in that game I would say has a creepy factor is Zetsu Enoshima, and oddly, it's considered one of the worst maps. So scary doesn't automatically equate to good, but it is something as Zombies fans we're always wanting to see, and I believe World War II achieved that in each and every map on this game. The atmosphere, the storyline, and even smaller details such as the character quotes all go into this, because if you think of the best characters in Zombies, Richtof and Taku Nikolai Dempsey, they're not serious. There is a lot of comedy between them, and that does break the scary immersion. World War II didn't have that. I didn't find the characters funny. They were serious. You can say, okay, then it's more boring, but it did help to keep the serious tone of the game. For me, the best map was the Final Reich, which was the first one, taking place in the sleepy mining town of Mittelberg, Bavaria, Germany, where you spawned into the dark alley, opening the gates into the village square, seeing the crooked old houses either side of you, the moon reflecting off the snow giving you a very dim light, and then the giant metal doors taking you down into the underground bunker, where I think it was Dr. Straub, was it, or Dr. Richter, I can't remember exactly, were doing their experiments. This map was perfect for what they were trying to achieve. I don't think it's one of the best Zombies maps ever. If this was on another game such as Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, World at War, I think it would be. It's just because it was on this game and it wasn't really appreciated because, well, it's not Treyarch and the mechanics weren't great, but this map was. But it's not just the design of the maps. Look at the zombies. Look at the detail that Sledgehammer went into. Their eyes are dead, making them feel soulless. They have mechanical parts attached to their bodies, saws for hands, metal caps on their heads, making them feel even less human-like. One of my favourite enemies ever in Zombies, design-wise, was the Panzermordor, the final boss of this map, an amalgamation of the dead and the living. And because the game came out in 2017, it's not old enough where the graphics are bad compared to today's standards, but it's also not super clean and smooth. If you look at all of the modern Treyarch Zombies games from Cold War, they all look and feel more similar to one another. The graphics are super clean, the movement is smooth, to the point where it's almost impossible to achieve a scary atmosphere now. It's difficult to explain exactly why, because we have had games recently, I'm not talking Call of Duty now, we have had horror games, Silent Hill and Resident Evil, that are horror games, but I don't feel like we get as many as them as we used to, and part of that is just due to graphics being so good and realistic. I believe when we reached a point of realism where the graphics are just that good, it then makes it more difficult to create a scary, unrealistic atmosphere in a way, because the graphics are so realistic. I know what I'm trying to say in my mind, it's just difficult to put into words. But if you take yourselves back to the early and mid 2000s, there were not only so many horror games, but the bad, low resolution graphics helped with the scariness, because it was more grainy, it was gritty. It wasn't as clear. Transit on Black Ops 2 is a great example. There are custom maps of that map now, which are way cleaner, look way nicer, but don't look as scary because it looks so good and realistic. With World War II releasing in 2017, it fits right in between that transition of super good looking modern day CODs from 2020 Black Ops Cold War. World War II still look good though, but it's also past that point of, World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, where the graphics compared to now were genuinely not great. This is in the middle, which helps in its horror aspect because it looks good, but it's not super clean to the point where the developers are struggling to achieve a unique looking atmosphere with it, because all of the new games nowadays, especially COD, do look more similar to one another compared to what they're used to. I think graphics have just reached a certain point now where I would question how much better can they really get? If they're already at the point where they look almost real, then surely you can't get any better than that. There's no such thing as better than real. The point I'm making is the time when this game released helped a lot. It meant the developers weren't held back by just having a game that looked so real that it would be difficult to achieve a video game atmosphere. I mean, when it comes to the Easter eggs, there are quite a few scary ones as well. This one, where you could find Dr. Straub just down an alley if you randomly happen to look. Yeah, the Final Reich is a very scary map, but even the other ones on this game, Groston House, which was kind of the bonus map, I was going to say it's a smaller version of Nakda and Totem, but it's really not. This is an anxiety-inducing map because it's the very basics. There is nowhere for you to run from the zombies. However, DLC 2, which was the Darkest Shore, I do think as the DLCs progressed in this game, the maps got worse, both gameplay-wise and when it came to the horror aspect, but the Darkest Shore still did a really good job. Loading in and seeing the zombies coming out of the water was so unique and, quite frankly, terrifying. And then travelling up these shore cliffs through the mist as the zombies came at you, making your way into the bunker, it achieved a very different feeling to the Final Reich. This one induced pure loneliness, almost as if you were abandoned on this island in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by these undead creatures. This map had a mist and a fog that the Final Reich didn't have, making its horror feel unique. The other maps, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a fan of. DLC 2 was the Shadowed Throne, which didn't quite hit the mark. DLC 3 we had the Tortured Path, and the final map was the Frozen Dawn. But where these ones did lack an atmosphere, the art direction of World War II Zombies was kept up. Some people would say World War II and World at War have completely different approaches for horror. Whereas World War II went for gruesome blood, guts and gore, World at War didn't. But do gruesome designs necessarily make a better horror experience? No, that's what some movies do. You have slashers, which are in the horror category, but then you also have, I'm trying to think of a movie or franchise that would be the opposite, The Conjuring, which is all about the atmosphere. Both are in the horror category, but are two totally different types of movies. You could say the same for World War II and World at War. At the end of the day, it just depends which one you like, because personally, I don't like gruesome blood, guts and gore movies, not because it makes me sick, just because they don't scare me. Okay, I do feel a little bit faint when I see that blood. However, in games, it's kind of totally the opposite. And that's why for me, World War II is scarier, but maybe for you, it would be World at War, and I wouldn't argue with that. Nakda and Toten is a scary map. The bad graphics make it worse. Verrupt is a really scary map as well, mainly because of how tight it is. It consists of small corridors, there's no big real areas for you to train. Shinonuma is a swamp and epitome of horror, and like I mentioned earlier, Derice has everything. You can make a real argument to say World at War is the scariest, but it does come down to those two games. However, the big difference is, I feel like World at War was trying to do a lot more, whereas World War II specifically stuck to that theming and didn't veer off from it. Maybe besides from the Frozen Dawn, the final map, but I can give that a pass because it was supposed to be the finale. They need to introduce new things to wrap up the storyline. We never talked about the sound design as well, something that always goes under the radar but is mega important. You may have forgotten, or when you have played it just went over your head, but listen to the sound that the zombies make. The sound design of the zombies was on another level to Treyarch. So, of course, this is all just in my opinion, but I truly believe World War II Zombies was the scariest we have had to date, which is a surprise on multiple levels because we never got a sequel. I don't think we're ever going to, yet we're here 8 years later talking about how good this game was when it came to its horror. And also, well, I don't think this is the worst Zombies ever. It wasn't bad, okay, it wasn't great, but I feel like no one would have really complained if we got a sequel. There was something to work off here, but it looks like it's dead in the water. At the same time, it is just the World War II setting, so we don't necessarily need a sequel or a World War II game really, just one that can achieve this same atmosphere. The question is it doable now? And for the reasons I've discussed, with modern graphics and all Call of Duties being a part of COD HQ now, really restricting the differences between games, I would be very surprised if they could. I just don't think this kind of horror is achievable in Zombies anymore. But yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.